How do reverse burdens work in legal proceedings? Have you ever wondered how the rules of evidence can shift in a courtroom? One fascinating aspect is the concept of reverse burdens. So, how do reverse burdens work in legal proceedings? Let's break it down. In most legal cases, the party bringing the claim, often the prosecution in criminal cases, carries the responsibility to prove their case. This is known as the burden of proof. However, in certain situations, this responsibility can shift to the defendant. This is what we call a reverse burden. In a typical criminal case, the prosecution must prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This reflects the principle that a person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But sometimes, the law requires the defendant to prove specific facts or defenses. This is often done to a lower standard, like the balance of probabilities, which means it is more likely than not. Reverse burdens often come into play with affirmative defenses. For example, if a defendant claims self-defense, they may need to prove that they had a reasonable belief they faced imminent danger. This means they must provide evidence supporting their claim rather than the prosecution having to disprove it. Certain laws also impose reverse burdens for practical reasons. In drug trafficking cases, for instance, a defendant might have to show they did not know a substance was illegal. Similarly, environmental laws may presume that a company caused pollution unless it can prove otherwise. Another area where reverse burdens appear is in strict liability offenses. These are crimes where intent or knowledge is not necessary. In these cases, the burden may shift to the defendant to show they acted with reasonable care or did not cause harm. When courts consider applying a reverse burden, they look at several factors. These include the seriousness of the offense and the clarity of the law. The more serious the offense, the less likely a court will allow a reverse burden, as it can conflict with the right to be presumed innocent. Reverse burdens can be controversial. They may undermine the presumption of innocence and the right to a fair trial. Some courts have ruled certain reverse burden laws unconstitutional. However, they remain in use where lawmakers believe shifting the proof responsibility is justified. In practice, reverse burdens change how evidence and legal arguments are presented in court. The defendant must provide enough evidence to meet their burden on the reversed issue. After that, the prosecution may have the chance to respond. This shift alters the usual flow of persuasion and requires careful legal strategy. In summary, reverse burdens shift the responsibility of proof from the prosecution to the defendant for specific facts or defenses. This adjustment addresses particular legal needs while balancing fairness and public interest.